Welcome back to Work-Life Harmony. Today, I kind of want to get in the weeds and share a very specific process that I go through every single week whenever the end of the week comes, and I realized that there were things I had put on my weekly plan that didn't get done. I like to label these my carryover tasks. Yes, I am a time management coach, but yes, of course, most weeks at the end of the week, there's something that I'd hoped to get done that actually didn't happen. Because guess what, guys? I'm human, just like the rest of you. And there are three reasons why usually the things that we put on our list don't get done. So that's what I want to talk about today is kind of what my process is for how to handle those tasks that I basically call carryover, meaning I didn't get them done this week, so now I need to address them for next week. So first, I just want to set the scene of when this is happening. You know, I'm going to bring it up, my love of weekly planning. This is part of my weekly planning process. So it is one of the earlier steps in the process. Once I've already plugged in my current commitments, my unavailable time, I need to go back and say, hey, was there something that was on my list last week that didn't get done that I now need to bring into my weekly plan for this week? For those of you that currently don't do weekly planning, chances are the knee-jerk reaction that most people will do is they will go create a to-do list for themselves for Monday, right? Hey, here's 6 things I didn't get done last week. I'll go knock them all out on Monday. And they do it without looking at the realities of their week. They look at it without looking at their priorities, etc. And then we fall into this never-ending trap of rewriting the same things day after day, week after week. So this is why we need to learn how to address these carryover tasks properly. So when I am looking at the tasks that I had planned to get done that did not, the very first thing I'm doing before I'm even trying to figure out when I'm going to get them done is the first thing I need to understand is why didn't it happen? And there's a reason why we need to understand why, because depending upon your answer for it is going to potentially have you handle how to address this. So there's usually 3 reasons why something is left over. The first is something happened. We had to make a pivot. Something came up unexpected during the week, and the time that you had allotted to get something done, something else kind of hijacked, became a bigger priority, etc. So when I'm looking at my carryover task, if there was something I was slated to do, maybe I had planned to do it on a Thursday, my child wakes up sick from school, and now I'm not able to do it. That's just okay, life happened, and now I want to ask myself, is this task still important? And if the answer is yes, then I'm going to look at my calendar for the next week and decide when I'm putting it in. I'm not just going to assume it's going to get done Monday because maybe I don't have the time for it on Monday. So that first scenario is when truly something unplanned that we did not predict happened, and we still need to get this task done. Those are the easiest ones to then remap into your future week. Now, sometimes when I am looking at it and I'm asking myself, why didn't it get done? It's because, if I'm being honest, I was completely maybe unrealistic or a little too aggressive with my weekly plan, meaning something took longer than I thought. And usually it is because other tasks took longer, or I thought I was going to have more available time than I did. So if it is simply I didn't get it done because I overbooked myself, here's something I want you to think about if you find that's your reason why. Start taking notice of how many times this happens. If this is happening to you every single week, that is a sign that you are not doing realistic estimates when you're going about your weekly plan. And so if this is a pattern for you, learning how to better estimate and plan your time is going to be a huge win. And I have a whole separate training on estimating. But I just want you to at least have the awareness of, is this an ongoing problem? I am thankfully to a point now, because I've been doing this for so long, that if when I have carryover tasks, it's not very often that it was because I had completely overbooked myself. And on weeks where it does happen, it's usually a week where I knew stepping into it, okay, I'm creating a pretty aggressive weekly plan, and I'm going to be okay if some of these things don't happen, but at least the most important ones do. So that's reason number two. The first one is simply life happened, something unplanned took that time and you had to use it elsewhere. The second is you were just too aggressive in thinking about what you wanted to do. Now, the third, this is our subtle guy here. And yes, this happens to me. How many times have you looked at something that you didn't do this week? And when you're honest with yourself on why, it's because you're like, I just didn't want to. We all have them, right? We all have some of those tasks that show up on our list that like the day comes and we look down, and we're supposed to do it. And we're like, God, I really don't want to do that. One that happened for me recently, I kept getting the automated phone calls for it was time for your annual checkup. Well, you know what? I don't love the annual checkup. So it was the day to make the call and schedule. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And then it's the end of the week and I'm looking back going, look at that. Didn't call and schedule, didn't call and make that doctor's appointment. So then it gets put on to the next week. So if it is one of those tasks where it's like, I really don't like doing it. In that moment, I need to sit down and have an honest heart to heart with myself of what is it about this that you don't like? So that then I know how to handle it, because it's one of two things. One is just, it's just not something you enjoy doing. Like for me, I wasn't prioritizing my health, shame on me. So I did make sure that I only carried it over once. That next week I did call and get the appointment done. Now, sometimes when I'm looking at it, like, I don't want to do this. When I dig into why do I not want to do it? Well, sometimes the answer might be this task is not in alignment with what I really want to be doing, meaning I got shoulded or guilted into doing it. Or, you know what? I thought this was important. And now I'm realizing this really isn't something that's important to me. And so you may choose not to carry the task over. You may intentionally decide, I don't really need to do this. I got shoulded or guilted into it, or it was seemed important at the time. And now I'm realizing this isn't something I actually need to get done. So by going through this process, instead of just instinctively, okay, here's everything that didn't get done last week, let me plug it into next week. Take that thoughtful time. It only takes a couple seconds to first understand, why is this happening? So that you then make sure that you are keeping the things that are important on your list, you're removing the things that aren't, and then most importantly, you're making sure that you're not stuck in a rut of constantly over scheduling yourself. So when you sit down to create your weekly plan for this next week, for any of you that have those lingering tasks that you were hoping to get done last week, but they didn't, it's okay. But make sure as you're setting down your weekly plan for this next week, you're understanding, did life happen? In which case you've just got to replan when you're going to do it. Are you constantly overbooking yourself? In which case now we need to put an actual permanent change in place for you to make sure that you're not overbooking. Or is it just I didn't like it? And if you didn't like it or you didn't want to do it, dig a little deeper to make sure that if you're carrying it over, you're understanding why it's still important, or you're deciding, I'm not going to carry it over at all. I'm going to let this task go. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. Most importantly, I hate focusing in on the things that we didn't get done, because oftentimes that leaves us feeling in this place of failure. But most importantly, what I want you to do is to celebrate all that you did do, and then set yourself up for success on how to regroup and replan for the things that maybe didn't get done last week. We're not going to beat ourselves up over it. We're just going to replan and get it plugged in. I hope you have a fantastic week and happy weekly planning.